you should drink responsibly. Like, that's a thing that we all know.
Yes.
Okay. And a good example of why you should drink responsibly is that you don't end up like Kings Nuggets on Wednesday, because Kings Nuggets was not like, oh, I had a few drinks and then silly me, I left my debit card at the bar. This was, I woke up in someone else's clothes on someone else's lawn, and why is there a rubber chicken and a bottle of Clorox next to me? That's the kind of drunk that Kings Nuggets was. But Nuggets get the win. All that more on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being part of us, our community, being an everydayer, hanging out with us Monday through Friday. We do appreciate you guys joining us, whether you're on podcasts where those 5-star reviews will boost us up the charts if you want to take a second, or you can join us at youtube.com/Locked On Nuggets. We're under 800 to go before we hit 10,000 subscribers. We were very excited about that.
In a journey, man.
We'll make Ryan do something ridiculous, like say officiating was fair one night or something, when we get to 10,000 subscribers. My name is Matt Moore. I'm a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn of Mile High Sports. You can catch him on the Pickaxe and Roll podcast throughout the week and his writing at Mile High Sports. Ryan's a really great writer, and he does a really good job of diving deep into all things Nuggets, and you're going to be a smarter person if you check out Ryan's writing at Mile High Sports. So like if you're like a long time listener, like, yeah, I know he writes for Mile High, like take a second, go use the Googles, use the Googlies and go look up Ryan's writing and follow it. Nuggets get the win over the Sacramento Kings 116-110 in what, as I mentioned previously, was an absolutely just drunk affair. Just sloppy drunk. Like, it's day 4 of you being at the bachelor/bachelorette party weekend, and for some reason you're still going out. And you shouldn't be, but like, you don't really feel good, but you're still absolutely just hammering the margaritas. Like, it was all over the place. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff on today's show. We'll talk about Russell Westbrook's big night, Zeke Nnaji with some great minutes, Jalen Pickett with some good minutes. We'll talk about Jamal Murray and his career high in free throw attempts in a game that Nuggets fans apparently feel that everyone was hit with a barbed wire baseball bat despite having a 30-14 free throw advantage. We'll talk about that later. Let's start, though, with this. The Nuggets won a game in which Nikola Jokic was a minus, Ryan. They lost the minutes with Nikola Jokic, and they won a basketball game. They've done that 4 times this season now. Ooh. They've lost 12 when he's been minus. But still, that's better. That's more than I would have thought this season. I would have thought there have been like 3 games where Jokic was a minus and they won. And this is instead their 4th because they got huge performances from Jamal Murray and from Russell Westbrook. And it was a really good team win versus a Western Conference opponent.
Yeah, so to put that stat into perspective, by the way, the 3 games that Denver won when Jokic was a minus, he was -1, -2, and -2. Tonight he was a -10. Usually that is a death knell. Usually that's a situation where Denver just can't come back from that. In the 4 other games where Jokic was a minus by double digits, Denver lost by double digits, and in 3 of them they lost by over 20. So this is usually a sign for Denver to struggle, but you just got to give the bench so much credit. The lineup that was in the first half, the lineup that was in the second half, they flipped it a little bit. It was Westbrook, Murray, Brown, Porter, Jokic. Or not Jokic, Porter, Nnaji. Actually, no, it wasn't Porter. It was Westbrook, Murray, Brown, Watson, Nnaji in the first half. And then in the second half, at beginning of the fourth quarter, Westbrook, Murray, Porter, Watson, Nnaji. Just a tremendous performance from all of those guys, kind of coming together, figuring out how to deal with physicality, creating good offense, and turning defense into their advantage. Zeke, I thought, was the MVP of this game. Russell Westbrook had a massive game, and he deserves a ton of credit. I thought that Zeke Nnaji turned the tide.
Of course you do.
Come on, like he doesn't
I'm putting this. I am sending this one up to the Russ stands. I will offer this one up them and earn their favor. I will become a godlike figure to them for the gifts I have bestowed upon them. As
Zeke Nnaji didn't get a podium game. Russ did.
As I feed them you. Yeah, look, man, Zeke was good. Okay, Zeke was really good. Zeke's been giving them really good minutes, right? Like he's been really good. Russell Westbrook had 25 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks.
Okay, when you frame it like that, pretty good argument. Not gonna lie, that's a pretty good argument right there.
Zeke had 10 points. He was part of that run in the second quarter. He had led all players in that stretch in game score. To start the second quarter, they rattled off an 8-0 run to get them to within 5 points. Basically, like the game was already getting away because of how bad the starters played.
Yeah,
and really. Can I ask you? Yoke played pretty bad tonight.
Yeah, he was bad. Like, no, he was flat out bad. There's no
like he had 22, 10, and 15. He had 22, 15, and 6.
Right. Like
and was 9 of 18 from the field.
Of course. But like you talk about this all the time. We never grade Jokic on what his box score looked like. Sure. We grade it by how he felt, how he played, what it actually looked like. And the fact is that he struggled through a lot of this. And I'm sure we'll get into it in a little bit, but like the way Denver changed up the energy, I thought that because they opened up the paint in the beginning of that second quarter, beginning of that fourth quarter, they weren't scoring as much. But the reason why I say Zeke was the MVP of this one, their defense got so good when he switched on to everybody. Every single player, Matt, like in the second half, I think they had a 66 defensive rating when he was on the floor. That's crazy. That is a crazy number. And so much of what he did there, like he switched on to he started on Jonas Valanciunas when he came into the game, got a couple big stops. He did a great job when he was switched on to DeMar DeRozan, who was cooking just about everybody else. And when it was Zach LaVine, he forced some pretty tough buckets as well. So like, this is a tough assignment for a guy like that. And just, I want to make sure that he gets the credit that is due here. He was fantastic.
90 defensive rating for the game when Zeke Nnaji was on the floor.
And this is why, by the way, I think that they have to continue committing to the defensive end over just like figuring out the offense. Like they can't rely on being an elite offense in the playoffs. That's not what they're going to be, in my opinion. I think that they have to find a way to play defense. And he is the guy that not just him, but like he's one of the guys that can really help unlock that kind of mentality.
There's just such a synergy that exists. The problem is like wherever you start it, this is always kind of a thing. Because like I think Adam would probably be like, well, if you fix the offense, the defense will be better. The offense is everything stems off of the offense. Somebody else on Twitter was Cowboy fan, whatever numbers was telling me this about like, oh no, it's the offense, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, Malone said this about the coverage. You want to know the best way to beat this coverage? Get stops. So that way they can't set their defense. If you get them in mismatches, you're toast versus Denver. Absolutely toast. And so when they got stops, they were able to get better offense. But the counter to this is also, hey, when they're hitting shots like Russell Westbrook hitting all the shots, the person that actually did the thing, like they are able to actually then set their defense, and they're not getting in miscommunication. They're not getting burned in transition, which by God, their transition defense is awful. But that's a story for another day. Malone was like, if you want to fix the offense, you gotta get stops. There is like just a synergy there. I just think it's, hey, have better offensive process, and that will help you set your defense. Set your defense and get stops. That will help you get advantage on offense and not make it so hard all the time. One of the things I think is weird though about that approach is I'm just like, look, the playoffs are going to be like that though. They're going to make buckets. You're going to have to go up against that defense. Game slows down. So I think it's both. If as much as transition offense is supposed to be like unplayable in the playoffs when quote it slows down, if you give teams easy buckets over and over and over and over and over again, they will beat you because they are good enough. So it's going to have to be all of it. They're going to have to be better on both ends. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the Kings defensive approach, how Nuggets are trying to figure that out. And I will continue to harass Ryan about Russell Westbrook. We'll do that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls day and night. As your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where OpenPhone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and personal life separate. For just $15 a month, the cost of a few coffees, you'll get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba for 20% off 6 months. Openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us. We do have a daily Locked On Nuggets newsletter. Go to lockedondaily.com. You can sign up and get insights from Ryan and I. You get direct quotes. We'll have lots of stuff on there about you from this game. Go sign up at lockedondaily.com. So yeah, 90 defensive rating for Zeke Nnaji, 91 for Peyton Watson in his return, a 102.6 for Jamal Murray, and a 105.6 for Russell Westbrook, who was really good, was part of those defensive runs tonight. Like,
yes,
he was really
very
impactful
much so.
in areas.
Yeah, like Russ deserves a ton of credit. He, both on the ball and off the ball, found great ways to make some plays. There were a lot of like, he is a playmaker, right? He's one of those guys that isn't always going to be super disciplined in terms of sitting down, guarding, being like a technical guy or whatever. But he is such a hard player. Like he just plays extremely hard. His energy is always really high. And in moments like this one, where you could really feel how important this game was for Denver in terms of that comeback, and in terms of, like, they were down 10, they were down 7, they were down 8, they were down 12 at various points in that second half. And he really amps it up in those moments. It's pretty clear, and helped really captain a comeback. I think at the beginning of that fourth quarter, one of the plays I was referencing on the offensive end, he gets the ball and he slashes. He takes advantage of the open paint because Jokic isn't in there trying to fight for post position. And Russ makes a play, and he was efficient in this game over and over and over again, doing the right thing. 10 of 20 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. And the thing I loved about the shots, Matt, was that he, like, I don't like the pull-up twos. I'm never going to. But I love that he didn't hesitate on the threes. That's the most important thing in breaking this coverage. It's the most important thing. And say what you want about Russell Westbrook, the fact is that he's not going to hesitate. He's going to believe in what he does, and he makes those shots. And if he does make those shots, like, it's such a big deal. And the momentum flipped several times when he made those shots.
Yeah, I mean, they're just absolutely huge. I don't know if you can count on him, but they fell tonight, and he deserves credit for knocking those down, especially after the last couple of games. Kings did deploy this defensive scheme that we're seeing consistently from Denver.
Yeah.
A lot of us are wondering, many are saying, many are wondering, this is a conversation on Media Row. Why isn't Denver running pick and roll to counter it? And I tried to get Malone to answer it, and he kind of stonewalled me. And it's okay, because he really wanted to hammer home how important the defense was, and I get it. When they're fronting the way that they did in the Lakers game and the Celtics game and in this Kings game, and they're all over and they're playing the passing lanes, this is another important thing. It's one thing to just front. It's another to constantly be playing passing angles all over the floor. Like, a lot of these passes, like, teams are ahead of on the scouting report and sniping them, or they're at least deflecting them, making the catch hard at the very least. An easy way to solve it is just run two-man game. Is just run pick and roll. Now, when I suggested that on Twitter, somebody commented and they said, well, the problem is with Russ that if you run two-man game with Murray, if you run pick and roll with Murray, Westbrook's the one spotting up. So they just help off of him. But they still wound up getting the sequences out of the high pinch post still wound up with Westbrook open corner threes anyway.
Yeah.
So it's the same process. But for whatever reason, Denver's not running it right now. And I don't know what the reason for that is. I don't know whether they're keeping the powder dry, because I'm just kind of like, really? You don't think like, I think they've seen the Murray Jokic pick and roll before. That feels like a play that's on film.
Weird.
But the counter to this is the idea that they're just trying to work their way through it, which is an interesting concept. That instead of, it's the same kind of thing that we talk about with lineups, where it's like, yeah, I get it. You're like, this doesn't work, don't do it. And their answer is, this doesn't work, so we need to get better at doing it. And that's kind of what I wonder is happening here. If they're trying to learn how to deal with this coverage, getting the reps in versus teams that'll run it without going to the easy counter to it.
This was a great opportunity to do it because the Kings are like, they're not a great defense overall, but they have bigger wings. They have guys that will make things difficult. They have a big backline defender in Jonas Valanciunas, who obviously can't guard Jokic, but he could do a lot of other things, especially like he was doing a nice job of catching Russell Westbrook when he was trying to isolate and trying to force him to go a different direction. He also guarded Christian Brown, and they dared Christian Brown to shoot at the beginning of that game. And he shot 5 threes in the first half, but he was still very hesitant. Honestly, Matt, he probably should have shot 8, probably should have shot 9 based off of the amount of times he hesitated, the amount of times he gave up an open shot to try to dribble into something a little bit more comfortable. So everybody's kind of going through a metamorphosis for Denver right now. I agree with you that Denver's not like, they are not showing their best stuff. And I think a lot of Nuggets fans want to point to Malone being lesser of a coach for doing that. I don't think that's it. I really don't.
They want to win every game.
Yeah, they want to win every game, and the goal is to win every game by the most amount of points. And I understand why people feel that, because like, especially when you're in a playoff battle and these games come down to the wire, you're definitely stressed. And I know Malone is stressed as well, kind of going through this game planning process. So it's interesting to see it. It's interesting to think about it. I mean, you know that they're going to press the Murray Jokic 2-man game button when the playoffs come. The fact that they haven't done it as much this season, let alone during like this stretch, is very notable.
Yeah, it's just kind of curious. Maybe there's a problem, then they can't. Maybe there's something going on with it they think with the schematically. But someone in the comments, Melissa, Malone cannot adjust for anything. I would ask you, then what do you think happened in the last 2 games at halftime?
Right. Like they're better. They're better in the second half.
But they're literally making adjustments half to half. Like they're literally
know how good they are defensively in the second half. It's crazy. Like, yeah, it's so funny, man. Like, so much of this is what fans want to project in terms of what they think is going on as opposed to what is actually going on. And you better believe that like Denver's saving stuff. And you've talked about this before. They are saving their best stuff for the playoffs. Everybody does it in the NBA. There's things that you can't necessarily like hide all the time because you have to win games. But for the most part, a team like Denver that has playoff aspirations, that has championship aspirations, has other things in the bag that they are not going to right now. The question is whether they can survive without going to those things. And they can. But they're at this place right now facing a playoff caliber coverage that they're trying to navigate and trying to figure out. And it's tough. So I'm curious to see how they navigate it. And I'm curious to see if they have the personnel to do it in a traditional way, or if they have to get a little bit too creative for a regular season context.
DTSC says, maybe make some adjustments and stop trying to do the same thing every time, forcing the ball to Jokic in the post. So what I'm trying to tell you is they are selectively not running things to do that because part of the regular season is working through things. And again, it's just like, guys, he won a title. They've won 50 plus games every year. They're on pace to once again go over the win total again. They're the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. I just can't believe we keep having to have this conversation, guys. We really don't need to have it. We really don't. If they lose in the first round, guess what? We'll have it. And the answer will probably be bad for Michael Malone. But like, come on, man. Like, come on. Hurricane says, whatever happened to practice? So you just can't do it. Like, you just can't. It's not the same. It just doesn't. It's not the same.
Oh, I'll counter that a little bit because they came back from a long road trip and they had multiple days off. They could have done it if they wanted to, but you guys saw the injury report though. They had 7 guys on the injury report, and that didn't include any of the two-way guys that they're trying to figure out. So like, they don't have a lot of healthy bodies right now, and so I think they probably just decided we're going to have a film day. We're going to have a rest and recovery day once again. And the goal should be to get everybody ready to play the basketball game as opposed to like having to work through some stuff. They'll have plenty of time to practice.
UTSC says, so let's be serious. If Russ doesn't shoot this good, we lose this game. So we're depending on Russ to shoot good. Michael Porter was 1 of 7 from 3, sir.
Yeah,
it's probably not going to happen.
I'd like Michael Porter to shoot better. Like, that would be cool.
Like, it's probably going to happen too. Like, Porter's got problems. We've talked about him on the show. We've talked about the limitations. Some people understand why he's ranked where he is, and
some people are just so irritating and annoying that they just can't let it go, can they? It's crazy.
We're gonna take a break. When we come back, I'm gonna pester Ryan about the officiating, and we'll wrap up talk about Jamal Murray, who had a really good night. We'll talk about that next year on Locked On Nuggets. Who's in your support system? We all need people to lean on, whether it's friends, family, mentors, or professional. Ryan leans on me, for example. Even the strongest leaders and athletes know that asking for help makes them better. Therapy is one of the best ways to build a strong support system. It's not just for tough times. It helps with setting boundaries, developing coping skills, and becoming the best version of yourself. Somebody close to me had a lot of complicated dynamics with their family, and when they went to therapy, they kind of learned the importance of setting those boundaries, and that relationship has gotten a lot better because of that. You can just see all the advantages of being able to set boundaries and understanding how to assert for yourself and how to advocate for yourself, which I think a lot of people really struggle with. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. Man, the chat is negative today after they won. Like, they won, got beat.
Who could have foreseen? When Jokic doesn't play well, the rest of the chat is horrible. It's bad.
They won. This is good.
They're at 40 wins, Matt. They're at 40 wins, but they're at 22 losses. So the season is over.
I guess. So both sides were, I get a wide tapestry of fan reactions on social media. And tonight was really hilarious because both sides were especially angry, just livid about the officiating. And I don't know how to not be a hypocrite about this, so I will just lean into the bit. Guys, unless it's the Lakers, you should probably just shut up. Like, all of you. Unless it's the Lakers, then you have a point. That's the only situation. Nikola Jokic. Okay, so I want to kind of do this number right here.
Okay.
So a reasonable argument on the surface would be, sure, the Nuggets shot 30 free throws to 14 for the Sacramento Kings. A 16 advantage with Jamal Murray, not necessarily the griftiest grifter that grifted, not the speediest speedster that you have to foul to slow him down.
That boy was grifting tonight so hard, Matt. It was crazy.
15 free throws. The Kings as a team took 14. Here's the best part of this, though, Ryan. I checked Synergy Sports.
Oh, wow. What a flex.
So Jamal Murray drew 7 fouls tonight, and the rest were on text or whatever. Okay. Jokic drew 7 fouls too. They drew the exact same amount of fouls. This is something that I really think of that I think the NBA needs to include in the box score is fouls drawn. Yeah. And the reason I think that they need to is to be able to illustrate to fans, your guy got calls. He just didn't get them when he was shooting.
Yeah.
Jokic drew 7 fouls tonight. He got calls. They just weren't shooting fouls.
Yeah.
That's how this worked out. I have said in the past, I have said, yes, Jokic gets a really rough whistle and it's infuriating. Yeah, little guys are able to absolutely do more to him than he is able to do to them. That's absolutely a thing that I have noticed and said before. I do think this year, with the Nuggets being a top 5 team in free throw rate, everybody could take a step down in the old panic breather and the fury and the rage and just be like, yeah, we get we get an appropriate amount of calls. I also like the bleeding thing. What is causing that? That would be a foul. I'm trying to understand this.
I think if you're grabbing onto somebody and you're restricting their movement, or if you are like slashing down onto their arms or to their wrists or to wherever they are on their body, and they're just not getting the calls. I just want it like for the record, doesn't include this game. I just want to point out the actual numbers for free throws. Denver is 9th in free throw attempts. They are 21st in free throw percentage. They are 10th in free throw rate. So they have dropped over the course of this past month or so. And I don't know what to like really point out to that. I think that Jokic has not been in a good position where he can draw fouls a lot of the time because he is surrounded by 3 people. And it's just not a lot of airspace for him to generate that movement into players. And for those guys to like, because a lot of times those guys are just, their arms are mostly straight up in the paint at that point. And so I sympathize with you in that, like, hey, look, Nuggets fans probably BSing a little bit about 30 free throws that they drew and 30 free throws that they were able to get in a game like this. But I also know that the freedom of movement, and I know that Michael Malone is extremely frustrated and has taken multiple texts in the last few games because of this specifically, that guys are just, he feels like they're pushing around Jokic, and he can't really do the same thing back because he is a larger human being.
Yeah, he was close to taking a fine tonight. Oh, yeah. I do want to note Denver has a 0.25 free throw rate. Overall, they are 0.27 with Nikola on the court, which would be 3rd best in the NBA.
Yeah, so like he is getting calls, and Nuggets fans need to know that he is getting calls. It may not be to the degree that other guys that are driving consistently are getting them, but like he also does the thing where he throws up the jump hook a lot of the time. He's fading on the jumper a little bit. He's trying to avoid contact at times in order to make the basket. Like he's not going through people's arms all the time in order to draw these things. I'm not calling him ethical all the time, because there's a lot of times where he is just kind of baiting them and trying to get the calls that he sees other guys getting to. But to the degree, like it's something that I've noticed that he is learning how to do now, but he's still not quite to the degree where other guys are.
I think if you were to ask other fans of the teams that he plays, they would disagree with that assessment.
Well, would they argue about Devin Booker and Ja Morant and some of the other guys that get more calls than he does as guards? Would they say that they're floppers and foul baiters, things like that?
If they're not on their team, yes.
Okay, then so we're on the same page that no matter what Jokic actually does, he is going to be a foul baiter to everybody else.
They're all foul bait. Okay.
Okay.
It is the assumption of impartiality that bugs me, where I'm just most of the time, and I said the counter is the Lakers. I can't believe the calls they get. Most of the time, I'm just like, tonight's a good example of this, where if a Kings fan were like, because I told them, like, Kings fans were like yelling about it. It's like the Nuggets draw a lot of fouls and you guys were hyper aggressive trying to make plays. Like Keon Ellis is a very physical defender. He made stupid plays trying to make big plays. And Kings fans are like, because he's done that before. And I was like, he's gotten away with it before and he didn't get away with it tonight.
Yeah.
And if you like, when Lou Dort gets called for fouls, I don't get mad, because I know that Lou Dort does skirt the line with physicality. I think they should call less. I think we'd all be better off with less foul. Just don't call it.
Believe me, if they want, like, if everybody wants to play that game,
yeah,
then that's fine.
Let Joker obliterate Austin Reeves. Yes. Yes.
And that would be great because Austin Reeves is the other one that that's the one that bothers me the most of all these guys.
Yes.
Although I think one of the reasons why the disparity was so large tonight, DeMar, he started the game really badly. He was 1 of 8, 1 of 9 or so. Every single one of these jumpers that he fell down, every single time, every single one. And he got the call a couple of times at the beginning of the game, but I think it kind of numbed the the refs to calling some of those fouls for them in the process. And I think that DeMar got a bad whistle at the end of this game as a result. I think Zach LaVine got a bad whistle at the end of this game as a result. So it is kind of interesting to see how those dynamics play out at the different times of the game. I just thought it was a badly officiated game overall.
Jamal, I got to do better about my questions. I asked some better ones tonight that were more direct. I'm trying to be very direct with my questions. Just very much just hey, here is a thing I want to know, as opposed to preface and then question. Because with Murray, the last thing I asked him I was trying to be hey, DeMar only got to the line 4 times. He only got 2 trips to the line. That's phenomenal. That's so good.
Doing that,
and Murray was contesting and then shrinking his body to avoid the contact. It was really good. And instead, Jamal took it and was he made some tough shots, man. And I was I'm not criticizing you. You did a really good job. He just makes tough jumpers. That's what he does. Jamal was great tonight. Jamal got hunted on defense almost every single possession. They're hitting tough jumpers on him constantly. And all Jamal does, he turns back around and he drops 24 points with 8 assists, no turnovers, 4 of 10 from the field, but he got to the line 15 times. He was plus 21, team bye. They destroyed in his minutes. Jamal Murray was great tonight.
Plus 21 in a game that you win by 6 is a big deal. That shows that you were doing something right in the minutes that you were on the floor. And just there were so many times, Jonas Valanciunas did it at the end of a quarter. Somebody else, I think it was Keon Ellis, fouled him on a 3. These guys, when he takes those threes, and the way that he's been shooting of late, he becomes so much more dangerous, Matt. He's so dangerous for those guys because of all the other guys, and I might include Michael Porter in this. Of all the other guys, Jamal Murray is the 5-alarm fire right now. You cannot leave him open because you do not want him to get hot because he can throw up 40 on you. Nobody else on the team other than Jokic can do that. So he has been taking advantage of this attention. I think that Jokic is getting really well. And it's going to be about how everybody else, Christian Brown, Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, not Julian Strawther anymore, but Aaron Gordon when he comes back, Jalen Pickett, how these guys navigate that space, because I think Jamal's done a really good job of it.
Yeah, I agree. Someone in the comments is saying that Jokic doesn't yell for fouls. I will tell you that tonight was the worst case I have seen this season of Jokic complaining to the officials and not getting back on defense. He was
I think they mean during the during.
Yeah, I know during the play. I'm just telling you that that's fine. Yeah. But 1, he does that. But 2, man, there was a lot of times that he was doing that. Big Honey says, I'd be okay with less fouls being called, but Yoke got called for some really ticky-tack offensive fouls, so they're trying to get position. He had 3 fouls. That's it. He had 3 fouls. But now, granted, those 3 might have been on those position plays because he definitely wasn't making fouls at the rim because he wasn't defending them at all. So.
That's, you know what? I'm calling cap. That is not true about the second half in general. He was horrible in the first half defensively, but he was so much better in the second half. And I think a lot of it, we haven't really talked about it a lot. He was questionable on the injury report today. Didn't move really well. He's trying to dribble the ball up the floor while being guarded by a forward on the opposing team. He's trying to break the press, and he's trying to fight through all of this. And I don't know how healthy he is, but he's going to play. That's just what's going to happen.
This is a question for you from DTSC. Is Zeke's shooting legit?
Oh my God. So the first 2 years of his career, he shot above 40%. And then he changed his shot motion. And it's taken a long time for that to come back around and for him to feel more comfortable with it. Michael Malone, I think, said it best that it's about confidence. And he's playing confidently right now. And that
Jamal
is the
raved about him tonight.
It was awesome. I wanted to give him an opportunity to talk about him because it was a big deal. I think that, like Jalen Pickett, if those guys are shooting with confidence, it doesn't matter what the shot form is. It's just about how quickly you can get the ball up, how comfortably you can get the ball up, and he's doing it pretty well. So hopefully he gets these opportunities on a consistent basis. I don't want to see a whole bunch of games where he's taking 0 threes, 1 3. He's got to keep taking them consistently, 2 or 3 every single game if possible, and then that will really help the Nuggets.
He's also shooting 31% from 3 this season. So
it's going up though. Like it was at like 12. That's the thing. Like it has been a lot more consistent of late.
You know who else the shooting is going up?
Who's?
Russell Westbrooks.
Yeah, that man. I think he should take 10 threes a game. I think that's what we should do for this next game against the Suns, against Kevin Durant. Take 10 threes. Let's just go balls to the wall on this one.
It was really funny though that you I want to give Jamal a chance to talk about Zeke, and then with Russell Westbrook, you're basically trying to figure out a way to politely ask so what do you do when they think you suck and they don't guard you? And
I was really trying to come up with a nuanced question on because this is I do think this is new. I do think, and part of this I want to finish with this. This is almost kind of a morality of basketball thing going on right now with the 3-point era, with the 3-point absolute modernization of the game, because so often in these situations the goal is space the floor out so that your star has opportunities in the paint, and they can't commit 3 guys to the paint if you've got 4 great 3-point shooters out there. Denver doesn't have 4 great 3-point shooters out there with Jokic. They're never going to. So how do you get it? How do you make it work? Can you break what are the modern conventions of playoff defense and just NBA defense in today's NBA? I'm so curious to see how Denver goes over these next 20 games and the rest of the playoffs, because this is Denver's always been a low 3-point volume team and a low attempt team on this stage. But we've talked about it before. They make them when they take them for the most part. So if they're making them and if they keep getting dared, maybe they'll break it. Maybe they won't, but it's just such a fascinating thing. And Russell Westbrook is such a fascinating player to be put into this position specifically because of how his career has gone so far.
Yeah. I have a little bit more of a moderate. I don't want to go down you framed it as a moral story.
Because a lot of the game is just it's the 3, whoever makes the most threes wins. Whoever makes the most threes, you're going to space the floor. Who has the best shooty hoops?
Yeah, but you also should
I don't want that.
You should also think about that from the perspective of whoever makes more shots is also oftentimes going to win.
Sure.
I think a better number, and I can look this up sometime, but a better number is how often do you win when you make more threes, but you shoot worse from the field? Right? That's actually probably a smaller number.
Yeah.
50-50. And I think the math part is part of it, but there's also so I grew up watching Hakeem Olajuwon and the Rockets, and it was you feed Olajuwon in the post and he scores 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 to the point where they double, and then he kicks to open shooters.
Yeah.
And Kenny Smith and Otis Thorpe and Robert Horry, and those guys knock it down. And that's really beautiful, simple, great basketball. It's just hey, you force them to help, and then you punish it by kicking to the outside where there's more space, and you knock down a 3. The Celtics are actually kind of interesting this year in that they're not all that great if they're not taking the good shots that they create. This is why I have said a million. This is why the Derek White threes in the first half infuriated me watching Denver, because I'm just it's the one thing you can't allow. You can't let Derek White and Peyton Pritchard catch and shoot threes. It's the one thing. Everything else, let Luke Cornett dunk on you a million times. Don't let those guys take open catch and shoot threes. But those are also really good shots. Those are good. Those are not bad shots. That's not just chucking up threes. Those are well-created shots. It's drive and kick. They force help and they kick to an open man. That's beautiful basketball. Denver's version of it being inside passes for open dunks is also beautiful basketball. But I also like balance. I think Denver goes too far the other way, where it's I miss when this team had shooters, and so that it was like, yeah, no, if you help, they're going to kill you. If you stay home, Jamal and Yoke are going to absolutely annihilate you with 2-man game. It was amazing. It was incredible. They won a title, right? That balance to me, I think, is what's really important. And that's one of the things I think that the more I think about it is like, it's been one of the weird things about this season. Everything with the Nuggets is just like a little out of, not wildly, just like a little out of balance. And they're trying to find equilibrium.
Yeah. Tilted, I think, is a very good, and like the Nuggets were tilted tonight. That's for sure. They were, and they're going to be tilted for the rest of the regular season. I think this is going to happen consistently over the course of these next 20 games. So how they handle it will be very fascinating. But I'm so excited for like this aspect of growth from this team, because if they can solve this problem, I think that they have a really good chance, like a way better chance than I was giving them before.
You're giving me whiplash.
Well, I don't think that they will solve this.
Okay.
But if they did, then this is the one for me, because if you like this will be very interesting. I'll just say that.
Okay. Well, Swipe and Ryan will be around tomorrow. Swipe and I will do a show on Friday, and then we'll have another post-game show after Friday's game versus, who are they playing Friday?
Suns, I think.
Wow. That's going
to be Colin Gillespie show.
It's going to be very, very, very interesting. Thanks for joining us. Hope you guys have yourselves a great Thursday. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll see you guys again next time here on Locked On Nuggets. Ryan hates Russell Westbrook.
I'm going to keep waving at the camera. I don't care.